Most athletes dominate in training and practice, confident, sharp, in control. But then the game comes and everything falls apart. Suddenly you're overthinking, second guessing. The skills that felt automatic in training, gone. You panic, tighten up, and leave the field asking, why can't I just play the way I practice? I coach pro athletes around the world on mastering the mental game. And this pattern of showing up small when it matters most is one of the most frustrating and painful struggles I see among athletes. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly why it happens and how you can finally break the cycle. Right, so why do you always seem to play worse in games than in training or practice? Why does your touch feel heavier, your decisions slower, and your confidence suddenly vanish when it matters most? It's not just bad luck or even nerves. What you're experiencing is self-sabotage. But here's the thing, self-sabotage isn't some dramatic, obvious thing. It's not screaming, I quit, or intentionally messing up. It's often subtle, quiet, and almost invisible. It shows up as hesitation, doubt, playing safe, and overthinking. And it happens because under pressure, your brain shifts from playing to win to protecting you from pain and defeat. In training, you're free to flow. There's no real consequence. Even when scrimmages feel competitive in the moment, deep down, you know that they don't really matter. But in a game, now there's status, expectations, and judgment. So your brain steps in to protect you, not from failure itself, but from what failure might mean. What if I try my best and still fall short? What if this proves I'm not good enough? What if everyone sees me fail? That fear kicks off a psychological defense system. And ironically, that defense system is what actually ruins your performance. It's like your mind builds a wall between what you can do and what you actually allow yourself to do, just to avoid the emotional sting of failure. So instead of going all in, you hold back. Instead of taking the risk, you play it safe. Instead of staying in the moment, you overthink every move. And the worst part, self-sabotage doesn't even feel like sabotage. It feels logical, justified, even smart, because your brain is convincing you it's safer this way. But here's the truth, you can't play free and protected at the same time. If you want to perform like the athlete you are in training, you've got to stop letting your brain talk you out of it during games. And it starts with recognizing the signs, the early red flags that self-sabotage is creeping in and taking over your performance. Here are the 4 biggest psychological ones. Firstly, catastrophizing. This is when your mind starts imagining everything that could go wrong, and it treats it like it will go wrong. You get caught in a deep loop of imagining every worst case scenario. You fixate on missing the shot, losing the ball, getting subbed off, or you imagine letting everyone down, ruining your chances and embarrassing yourself. And because your brain is wired to protect you from threats, it reacts as if those imagined outcomes are already happening. So your nervous system goes into overdrive, your body tightens up, and you lose trust in your instincts and start playing scared. The game hasn't even gone wrong yet, but mentally, you're already losing it. Secondly, cognitive distortion. So what this one could look like is, say you make a mistake and it's suddenly, I always choke. I can't handle pressure. I'm not good enough. This is all or nothing thinking, one of the most common distortions in athletes under stress. Instead of seeing mistakes as part of your game, your brain uses them as proof that you're failing as a player. The more you spiral into these distorted thoughts, the less you play in the present, and the more that you start becoming the poor version of yourself that you fear. Thirdly, displacement, which is where you blame others to protect your identity. This one's subtle but dangerously powerful. When the game doesn't go your way, your brain starts scanning for something or someone to blame. The ref, the coach, your teammates, the conditions. You feel yourself getting irritated, snapping, justifying poor play. When you're displacing, your mind is essentially shifting emotional discomfort onto external targets so that you don't have to face what's going on inside. It's a defense mechanism because blaming others is easier than confronting the fear that maybe you did underperform. Maybe you held back. Maybe you weren't as prepared as you should have been. And maybe you weren't at the level that you thought you were. But until you're willing to drop the excuses, you'll keep repeating the same pattern. And the 4th sign is learned helplessness, which is where you mentally check out before the game is even over, or in some extreme cases, before it's even started. This is one of the most dangerous long-term effects of repeated self-sabotage. If you've had a few rough games, your brain starts to expect it. You go in with low belief, you play without an edge, and you start thinking, what's the point? Even when things are going okay, there's a voice in the back of your mind preparing for a collapse, so you start putting in less effort. This is exactly what learned helplessness is all about, when repeated failure conditions you to give up before you've even really tried. This is why it's so easy for even top pros to go on serious long goal droughts or sequences of games where they just can't buy a bucket. They have learned to be helpless. They've convinced themselves that they are in poor form and that putting the ball in or through the net is way more difficult than it actually is. And the key here is that if you experience this state, it's important that you realize you're not lazy. You're not soft, your brain just got trained to stop fighting. So these are the psychological traps that quietly ruin performances and keep athletes stuck in the same frustrating cycle over and over again. But the moment you start noticing them, you gain power over them. And so now let's talk about how to reverse them so you can perform like you train and finally get out of your own way. So first up, the pre-mortem. As we've said before, catastrophizing is all about your brain panicking over what might go wrong. It's future-focused anxiety. Your mind imagines disaster and your body starts reacting like it's already happening. So how do you stay composed when things actually go wrong? Well, you flip the scripts before the performance even starts by running a pre-mortem. A pre-mortem is simple. Before a game, ask yourself, what are the most likely things that could go wrong for me today? Maybe it's a missed chance, a coach yelling at you, or giving the ball away under pressure. Then, instead of trying to actively avoid those moments, you build a go-to response for each one. For example, if I miss an early shot, I'll reset with a breath, square my shoulders, and remind myself it's one moment, not the whole game. What you're doing is training your nervous system to stay grounded under stress, and you're not trying to tempt fate here and encourage bad things to happen, but you're showing your brain, yes, something might go wrong. And here's exactly what I'll do if it does. No panic, no spiraling, no catastrophizing, just a confident athlete who's ready for anything. Okay, so strategy number 2 is to lean on your evidence base. Remember, cognitive distortions can be brutal. You make one mistake and your brain starts throwing out all the lies. I always mess up, I'm not ready, everyone's better than me. But here's the thing, thoughts aren't facts. And in high pressure moments, your brain will lie to you unless you arm yourself with truth beforehand. That's where your evidence base comes in. Your evidence base is the stockpile of objective proof that shows who you really are as an athlete. It's the highlight clips of you handling pressure. It's your training journal full of personal bests, hard sessions that you push through, and performances that you recovered from. Before big games, take 5 minutes to revisit it. Watch back old footage of you where you showed composure, flick through your notes, and just visualize moments where you delivered, not just when things were perfect, but when they were tough. What this does is anchor your identity in truth, not emotion. So when those distorted thoughts start creeping in, when your brain says, you can't do this, you've already got a counterpunch loaded. Yes, I can, I've done it before, and I'll do it again. Confidence isn't a feeling. It's a choice to trust the facts over fear. And your evidence base is your insurance policy against self-doubt. So tip 3 is to stay inside your circle of control. Displacement is so easy to fall into the trap of for athletes, but it often just ends up being wasted energy and focus. Yes, refs will make bad calls from time to time. And yes, your teammates might make a poor decision not to find you when you're open. But every time you blame something outside of yourself, you give away your power. So the solution is to lock yourself inside your circle of control and refuse to leave it. Your circle of control is simple. Your effort, your communication, your body language, your next decision. In game, whenever frustration creeps in, ask yourself, am I focusing on what I can control or what I can't? Because the moment you leave that circle, you start bleeding energy. You stop competing, you stop leading, and you start drifting into victim mode, which kills your performance. World-class athletes don't play perfect games, but they dominate their controllables. They regroup instead of rage. They raise their standard instead of pointing fingers. And they stay composed when others fall apart. Then when it comes to combating learned helplessness, you need to take one dominant action. Remember, this is when your brain starts to believe, no matter what I do, it won't make a difference. So you freeze, you go passive, you wait for the game to happen to you instead of taking control of it. And you can only make this switch through one simple dominant action. Not 10, not perfect plan, just one small assertive move that reminds your nervous system, I still have power here. It might be a crunching tackle, a vocal demand for the ball, a powerful sprint, a bold, confident play, even if it doesn't come off. That one action creates psychological momentum. It shifts you from passive to active, from self-doubt to self-leadership. Because helplessness only survives in action. The moment you move, you start sending a signal to your brain. I'm still here, I still get to choose how I show up. And the athletes who succeed, they don't wait to feel confident before acting. They act and let confidence catch up. When that confidence does catch up, it's then your job to sustain it. And to help you do this, check out this video next.